We will not have indoctrinators in the schools putting fear into children.
The issue is, what is free speech as a public school teacher?
America, we need to talk about what just happened in Las Vegas because it perfectly shows you the delusion of liberal teachers who think they can celebrate political assassination without consequences. We've got teachers who post about watching Charlie Kirk's murder more than 50 times and calling him an unconscionable monster, and now their supporters are out protesting in costumes, wigs, and singing songs like it's some kind of festival. But here's what these costume clowns don't understand. Nevada is an at-will employment state, which means you can be fired for any reason that's not illegal. Celebrating murder isn't a protected class, and your employer doesn't need to keep paying you while you indoctrinate children with your cheer for political violence.
Two different protests today in front of the Clark County School District's administration building as the fallout continues over teachers making inflammatory and insensitive remarks on social media.
Now, some of those teachers praised the assassination of Charlie Kirk.
What is up, guys? Tyson Dela Cruz here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. While these teachers are out here crying about consequences, parents are finally waking up about what's been happening in their children's classrooms. Let me remind you what these teachers actually posted that got them in trouble. A Outrage middle school teacher said they watched Charlie Kirk's killing more than 50 times and called him a monster. Think about that. A person you trusted to educate your children was getting sexual gratification from watching a political assassination over and over again.
In one, a Outrage middle school teacher said they watched the killing of Charlie Kirk more than 50 times.
The man was not a saint. He was, in fact, an unconscionable monster. Then, yeah, I don't think that you should lose your job for that. In fact, it's speaking truth to power.
Speaking truth to power. You're celebrating a murder of a husband, a father, and you think that's heroic? This is the level of moral bankruptcy we're dealing with in our education system.
We will not have indoctrinators in the schools putting fear into children.
This is the scene Tuesday afternoon in front of CCSD's administration building near Sahara and Decatur. About a dozen officers separating two groups.
Counter-protesters from Moms for Liberty got it exactly right. We will not have indoctrinators in our schools putting fear into children. That's what this is really about, protecting kids from teachers who celebrate political violence. Now let's talk about the protesters defending the teachers because they look exactly like what you'd expect from people who think celebrating murder is free speech. We're talking about people in costumes, wearing wigs, turning a serious discussion about political violence into some kind of freak street festival.
On one side, members of Moms for Liberty.
They need to be held accountable. They need to be removed.
On the other, two protesters defending teachers. They wanted to remain anonymous.
We should be able to express ourselves, and I think students and teachers are, able to understand the difference between classroom instruction and personal opinion.
Look at all these people wanting to remain anonymous while defending teachers who celebrate murder. They're saying we should be able to express ourselves, and the students can understand the difference between classroom instruction and personal opinion. Are you kidding me? You think a 12-year-old can separate their teacher's personal celebration of political violence from their classroom instruction? You think kids didn't notice when your teacher gets excited about people being killed?
They like to conflate what is actually inflammatory speech as a freedom of speech. These are educators that have control of the lives of young children, very impressionable minds.
The Moms for Liberty protesters understand what's really at stake here. These are educators that have control of the lives of young children. They're very impressionable minds. When you put someone who celebrates political murder in charge of teaching children, you're not just risking their education, you're risking their moral development. Here's what these costume protesters don't understand about the real world. Nevada is an at-will employment state. That means your employer can fire you for any reason that's not specifically illegal under federal law or state.
Amanda Keefe's 7th grade son goes to Outrage Middle. She's concerned over the comments.
If you're celebrating someone who is dead, whether it be George Floyd, whether it be Charlie Kirk, or anyone else, that's homicidal ideation. Look it up, learn the definition. It's not acceptable. That teacher needs to be fired.
Amanda Keith, whose 7th grade son goes to Outrage Middle School, nailed it. And she's absolutely right. Celebrating murder isn't protected speech when you're a public employee trusted with children. The First Amendment protects you from government censorship, but it does not protect you from your employment consequences when you demonstrate that you're unfit to be around kids.
Now, CCSD Superintendent Joan Ebert did issue a statement yesterday saying in part, while we do uphold the intent and the spirit of the free speech rights provided by the First Amendment, we also have an obligation to ensure our school campuses are safe and focused on learning.
Let me be clear about what these protesters are defending. They're not defending free speech. They're defending the right of teachers to celebrate political murder while being paid by taxpayers to educate children. One of the anonymous protesters said teachers and students can understand the difference between classroom instruction and personal opinion. But here's the problem. When your personal opinion is that political violence is entertaining and justified, you've disqualified yourself from being trusted with kids.
We aren't identifying the teachers who made the social media posts since they weren't fired or charged with a crime. The Clark County Education Association declined to comment, but says it's investigating the matter.
Notice that the Clark County Education Association declined to comment, but says it's investigating the matter. Even the teachers union knows this is indefensible. They can't publicly support teachers who celebrate murder, but they also can't abandon their members. The fact that these teachers haven't been fired yet shows you how broken our education system has become. In any other profession, celebrating the murder of a client, customer, or public figure would result in immediate termination. The whole situation reveals something much deeper than just a few bad teachers. It shows you the moral rot that's infected our education system. When teachers feel comfortable publicly celebrating political violence and their colleagues rush to defend them.
Seen people in all different walks of life, all different businesses, whether education or real estate, that are facing some backlash for comments that they made online. And in some cases, as you mentioned, there have been some consequences even here locally in town. And that brings up the question, what is freedom of speech? When does it apply?
These aren't isolated incidents. These are symptoms of a system that's been taken over by political activists who see their job as indoctrinating children rather than educating them. When teachers feel comfortable celebrating murder, it's because they know their administrators and colleagues share their same radical viewpoints. The parents protesting outside the school district building understand what's at stake here. They're not trying to silence legitimate political discourse. They're trying to protect their children from adults who think political violence is entertaining. At-will employment exists for this exact reason, to allow employers to remove people who demonstrate they're unfit for their position. Celebrating murder while being trusted with children's education is the definition of being unfit for your job. America, these Las Vegas teacher protests show you everything wrong with our education system. We have teachers celebrating political murder, and instead of being immediately fired, they're being defended by costume protesters who think this is all about free speech. This isn't about free speech. This is about fitness for duty. When you're trusted with children's education and you publicly celebrate political violence, you've disqualified yourself from that trust. At-will employment means you can be fired for demonstrating poor judgment, and celebrating murder is the ultimate example of poor judgment. The parents fighting to get these teachers removed understand what's at stake here. They're not trying to create a police state. They're trying to ensure that the people teaching their children have basic moral standards and don't get sexual gratification from watching political assassination. Meanwhile, the defenders are out in costumes and wigs, turning a serious discussion about political violence into a street carnival. That tells you everything you need to know about their priorities and judgment. Every parent needs to pay attention to what's happening in Las Vegas because this same moral rot exists in school districts across America. Teachers who celebrate murder today will be indoctrinating your children tomorrow unless you stand up and demand accountability. At-will employment gives you the power to demand that unfit teachers be removed. Use it. Let me know what you guys think about this. Drop it down in the comment section down below. Smash the like button if you kindly would. Share, subscribe, and as always, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.